Yes, Dr Nandipha Magudumana and her co-accused are back in the Bloemfontein Magistrates Court today to apply for bail. Last week, the defence asked for more days to be allocated for the bail hearing due to several developments, including the state adding 2 more accused allegedly involved in Thabo Bester's prison escape. The suspects in court today include a former G4S employee, or should I say employees, and a camera installer at the Mangaung Correctional Centre. They are accused of helping Bester, a convicted rapist and murderer, fake his own death in a prison fire. The bail application is expected to take 2 days. All right, let's try and get the latest now. Linda Mnisi is watching this story for us. Linda, good morning to you. The understanding is that what we have become accustomed to, which is to have our cameras inside court so that they can capture the suspects, this time around that may not happen. Why?
Well, from the latest that we got this morning here in court, there's an addendum that's been issued out. It seems, 2 members of the media, all media houses involved, that now bars members of the media from taking bail applications in the, Matwara versus 7 others matter, as well as State versus, State versus Matwara and 7 others matter, as well as State versus Thabo Bester matter. This was, of course, issued this morning. I want to draw in clearly into clause 1.3, which says, on the day of the hearing of the formal bail applications, no live recording of the proceedings shall be permitted. This includes the testimony of witnesses called, the testimony of accused persons, and the respective cross-examination that will follow. It then goes on, clearly, on 1.4, clause 1.4, to say the live recording of the bail proceedings will only be allowed after all evidence has been adduced. The closing arguments by the state, which is the prosecutor, and the defense teams may be recorded live. It will also be allowed when the court magistrate delivers judgment with regards to bail applications. So basically, essentially, the essence of this application, what we'll hear in this particular bail application, may not be broadcasted live to members of the public. You'll remember, when we come to court as members of the media, what would then happen is either a formal application to take the proceedings live and to film inside court, or a letter which is usually somewhat informal, which informs the magistrate as well as everybody involved in the process of what the media would like. This is served, and by everybody involved I mean the lawyers of the accused persons. The state would have to weigh in. The lawyers would have to take instructions on what the media would like in terms of access to the court, and then come back to present it to the magistrate, who would then make an order inside court on record in terms of the permission that is granted to members of the media. That process, Toli, here at the Bloemfontein Magistrates Court would usually start, here. So this is basically where everything would happen. We would fill in those forms. We would have our names, added onto the long list of the people that would be making their way into the courts. As you see, it also applies to members of the public, but they've got a separate list for members of the media who would then access court. You'll understand also the security issues that are linked to this particular matter. So they would need to account for each and every person who is inside court. So usually what you would see before you even enter the court is a line of security officials who are barricading basically the entrance to make sure that whoever that comes into court does have permission and has made and has filled in the required forms. This is the legal team of Dr Nandipha Magudumana. There you see Machini Matleung, Advocate Diba, as well as Advocate Dlamini entering the court ahead of that bail application. But you'll remember that before everybody enters, what would then happen, Chloe, is that we're given tags, such tags. This is what you would be given as members of the media to access the court. If you do not have this tag and you identify yourself as a journalist or a videographer, then you will not be allowed inside court. This has been standard practice throughout, these appearances. Today, what we saw was a slight change, which was discussed prior around members of the media. It seems the courtroom becomes very small as more members of the media come to cover this case. So in order to minimize the numbers, what then happened was that, broadcasters were allowed to use pull feed. Right, so that minimizes the number of camera operators that are inside court, and that was the process that was being followed this morning. So camera operators who are going to be inside court and feeding those live visuals already have tags, and they're different from these ones. These are tags that are given to journalists, reporters who will be covering the matter. So this new development comes after all those arrangements have been made to minimize the number of people that are inside the court. So at this point it's unclear why this particular decision was taken. We don't know if, they are trying to protect the identities of the people that may come and testify in this bail application, or it's just a matter of trying to control the numbers in the court. At this point, it's quite unclear.
Linda Mnisi, thank you very much for that comprehensive update. So that's the state of play. We may not be able to take full proceedings, as has been the norm, but we'll attempt to bring you some of what we are allowed to bring to you.